Hello, Thomas. This is Roberto Perez again, and I'd like to give you an overview of the visual objects of the main tool. Okay, having said that, I'm going to give you an introduction of the visual elements. In this video, we'll walk you through all the visual elements you see on your chart and what they represent. These elements are key to understanding the strategy and making informed trading decisions based on your price action rules. So one of the things that the strategy calculates or the indicator calculates, it knows when there's a leg one and a leg two. It also shows you whenever there is a second entry long or a second entry short, like here, for example. It shows you lower highs and higher lows, shows you failed second entries, like here, for example. And these dots, they represent the places where the order has to be placed once a second entry is triggered. Say, for example, this second entry right here. Once the first entry was set, then the second entry would have been in any one of these dots once it's pierced. In this case, it was pierced here, so that's why it says the second entry. But it was a failed second entry, and it tells you it's a failed second entry. The other thing we have in the screen is that we have a control that controls the strategy, and it enables different things. For example, right now I have the counter trend disabled. You can enable or disable it. You can use some fancy filters that you also take into account. Like, for example, if a bar is a doji or is a shooting star, you may or may not take a trade if you activate or not those filters. I've also included an EMA separation filter. That means that basically the trade has to be taken on the key entry points. One of the key entry points being the EMA, and if you set a separation like 3 ticks or 4 ticks, for example, take it. Another thing is that you can turn the second entries on or off. You can enable or disable the showing of all the zeros, because right now it only shows the ones and the twos. You can have it show all the zeros if you wanted to. And the other thing is that you could draw the high-low markers. The other thing that is enabled are the 1-2 markers, which are these. It says zero, and I'll explain in a second why. And you can enable to show
potential ES second entry long,
the markers above or below the EMA. That is, if the counter trend is off, you can disable the system from showing 1-2 markers on the wrong side of the EMA. And the other filter it has is it qualifies the bar color. Many times you say, I won't take this trade because the bar was green, and I won't take it. So this is what this filter does. It qualifies the color. Right now, I want to show you that where the price action is, it always shows where the zero is. It doesn't show it backwards, but it does show it where the zero is. I've covered all the screen elements. Now I'm going to show you one by one. Like, for example, if I enable the count. Let me go and tell you something. Please notice that the dots and the ones and the twos, they can be bright or they can be dim. And depending on the qualification of the trade and what the setup is, it'll be bright or dim. So, for example, if you notice, here is a possible short, and the dot is bright. But if it still continues to show you the dots above the EMA, but they become dim because those are not part of the rules. But anyhow, it shows you. And for example, you can see that here it's saying there's a second entry short, but it's grayed out. It's in gray, and the arrow is in gray, letting the user know that that's not a good trade to take on the short side. Whereas this one, for example, this second entry short, it's bright because it was taken on the right spot on the EMA, on the key entry point, and the dots were bright, telling you what it is. Now, for example, this one is dim because it was a short entry, a possible short entry, but this bar was a green bar, so therefore it became an unqualified bar. So it tells you that it wouldn't be a good idea to enter a second entry short here. While this one is a red bar, is a bearish bar, and again, the user can take it. It would have been maybe a loser because the trader would have placed his stop above this bar probably, and it would have been taken out. Anyhow, I'm going to turn the dojis on and the shooting bar on. If I turn them on, I need to reload the Ninja script so that the changes take effect. Okay, there they are. Here, for example, here's a shooting star, and it signals it with a different color. Here's a a doji and it signals it with a specific color. Here's another doji, and here's another shooting star. The shooting stars and the dojis are filters that allow or disable the program from showing second entries. Okay, and these are enabled. I enable all the zeros. I'm going to show you. If I enable all the zeros, you see, so it's a little cluttered, and it's unnecessary to have them all. So I just normally leave them turned off, disabled. Now, the other feature that this program has is that it has audible sounds, audible alerts. So, for example, when a second entry is allowed, is enabled, the audible sound says potential second entry short. For example, here once this number one, this first leg is happened, it says potential second entry short, potential second entry short, and it also gives you the instrument in case you're using different instruments. It'll say potential ES second entry short, etc. And once the trade is quote unquote taken, because remember this doesn't take trade, but it knows when the trade should have been taken. Like for example here, then it says second. There's another audible sound that says second entry short. Okay, and the other thing I'd like to show you is in the properties windows. There are more filters than the ones that I have here on the strategy control. So real fast. So here the doji filter, you can turn it on or off, and you can determine the percent of the body that you need for a bar to be a doji. So you can say if a bar has more than 30%, then it's not a doji. And here it tells you, it says flexible dojis with a higher doji percent, candles with relatively larger bodies are allowed or are classified as dojis. So this is a setting that the user can determine how big the body is to be a doji. Okay. And the same thing goes for the shooting stars. You know, shooting stars is a bar that has the body up above or down below, and the rest is the wick. And likewise, you can determine how big the body should be in order for it to be a shooting star. And there are additional markers that I normally don't put them, but I'll show you. There are these little markers that show you where the dojis or the shooting stars are. For example, let me apply this and show you real fast. I'm sorry, I didn't enable it. Okay. Okay, you see these little triangles? They're pointing to the bars that are dojis, and these are pointing to the bars that are shooting stars. It's just an extra little marker. It's really not needed. Okay, so let's go back. Now the next set of parameters, everything is calculated based on the swing strength. So normally the swing strength is set to 1, and here, for example, you can draw the high-low markers. You can turn only the higher low and lower high markers. You can turn the long entries or short entries on or off. You can show or not the swing indicators with its prices. And here you can show the number one, number twos, and in the final bars, the zeros. And here this means that show 0, 1s, and 2s counters only on the right side of the EMA. So if we only want to enter shorts because we're below the EMA, it'll only show the 1, 2s below the EMA. And if it's for long, it'll only show the 1, 2s above the EMA. This allows you to ignore counter trades. So the system, it will show the second entries both above and below, but as I told you before, it'll show those in dim colors with an opacity of 50% if the counter are off. And with this one, you can say only take trades at the EMA key entry point. You can turn this on or off. And if you turn it on, you can set the distance, the maximum distance for a key entry point. So this allows you to turn on the second entries, the failed traps. The historic objects is that you scroll back. Let me show you that. Oh, sorry. I need to turn something off. All right. You see, all these elements, all these visual elements are on the screen. But if we scroll to the left side, they disappear, which means that they won't use too many resources of your computer. And if you would like to see the markers from here on, then you would have to reload, and they'll come up. You see, but they only show you what's available basically to see on the screen. So it's basically a resource saver. Okay, that's about it. Please let me know if you find this thing interesting, and if you do, I'd like to talk with you to see what comes next. It knows which is actually it's a strategy, but it's working only as an indicator. But it's a strategy.